Good day. It's September 1st, 2025. It's Labor Day holiday in the U.S., including U.S. diplomatic missions and outposts around the world. I'm Maribel Villanueva. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Joe Boban. Welcome to this week's episode.
We start our weekly news roundup with the redistricting issues that matters to millions of voters around the country. As we have been carrying the story for weeks, redistricting in Texas, initiated by Governor Greg Abbott, at the request of Donald Trump to take away 5 Democratic majority districts and turn it into a Republican majority district, was met with an identical response by California Governor Gavin Newsom, with the California legislature that had approved a bill on both chambers and signed by the governor last week to hold a special election, which actually is a referendum in the ballot. If voters approve, the legislature that have majority in both houses will sidestep the Independent Redistricting Commission and allow the California legislature to redraw the congressional map. This is in retaliation for what Texas had done. Other states where the legislature are controlled by Democrats and those controlled by Republicans are considering similar steps. However, in the state of Utah, where the redrawn map by the Republican supermajority in both houses of the state legislature, the redistricting that gerrymandered a lean Democrat district was ruled illegal and violates the will of the voters by the 3rd District Judge Diana Gibson, a state judge serving 3 counties, including Salt Lake City. Judge Gibson said that the people of Utah in a referendum voted not to allow a party to solely redraw the congressional map on their favor. She ordered the map drawn in 2020 to be tossed out and a new map redrawn for the 2026 midterm election. The map that was drawn in 2020 was politically gerrymandered to dilute Democratic majority in the Salt Lake City area. Congressional District 4, which is in Salt Lake City, was last won by a Democrat, Ben McAdams, but served only 1 term, after the map was redrawn by the Republicans in the Utah legislature.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore joins other Democratic governors like J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, Kathy Hochul of New York, in redrawing congressional districts in favor of Democrats after California had approved adding 5 Democratic districts. Missouri joins Ohio, Florida, and Indiana trying to redraw districts in favor of Republicans. According to many political analysts and commentators, the fear among Republicans of losing their seats in the 2026 election is the reason behind the president's action in Texas, and that fear is now seeping through several gubernatorial races as new polls keep coming up. In Pennsylvania gubernatorial polling, it shows that the GOP is struggling in the polls, as well as in the Michigan gubernatorial race, where the candidates will be riding on the lowest approval rating of President Donald Trump. The telltale signs are increasingly against the Republicans, even in red states, where people are telling the media about their disappointment of Trump's fiscal policies and loss of Medicaid and social safety nets. This became visible in Iowa last week when Democrats won state Senate in a special election, ending the Republican supermajority in the state Senate in Iowa. Recent special elections in state legislatures had resulted in Democrats being elected in a traditionally Republican majority assembly and state Senate districts in the state.
As more veterans and former military personnel are running for office within the Democratic Party, Navy Rear Admiral Eileen Lubacker is running against MAGA right-wing Lauren Boebert from Colorado's Congressional 4th District. Congresswoman Boebert, who moved to another district in 2024 election because she was likely to lose in the district she was representing, was elected in that new district where she is now being challenged by Eileen Lubacker. Here is her campaign launch video on why she is running.
Eileen Lubacker, Naval Academy, a patriot who served more than 3 decades, an admiral, award decorated for distinguished service and achievement.
I'm really just a mom of this beautiful American family.
Did you ever plan to run for Congress?
Never in a million years.
What changed?
As your congresswoman, it is not my role to keep you healthy.
It's not your role, not your problem. That just goes against every fiber in my body. I'm the daughter and granddaughter of Navy veterans. At 17, I raised my hand and said, I'm protecting this country. It was my problem balancing taking care of my 5 young kids while continuing to serve. With all due respect, Congresswoman Boebert, if taking care of our veterans is not your problem, then get out of the way and let it be mine. I'm not a politician. I just care about this country. I care about families like mine that are being hurt by rising costs, healthcare that's unaffordable and inaccessible. Lauren Boebert is an embarrassment. She's not a patriot. She does not understand our values, our struggles, or what it means to serve. My name's Eileen Laubacher, and I'm running to defeat Lauren Boebert because I took an oath to defend our Constitution against all threats, foreign and domestic, even when those threats are sitting members of Congress.
Another Army veteran is running to unseat Maine Senator Susan Collins in the Democratic Party because he said she has done nothing for Maine. His name is Graham Plattner.
What I love most about Maine are the people. I have never met people who are more hard-scrabble, even in a place that requires you to work like 2 or 3 different jobs. We have watched this state become essentially unlivable for working-class people, and it makes me deeply angry. My name is Graham Plattner, and I'm running for U.S. Senate in Maine to defeat Susan Collins. A decade of military service going overseas, farming oysters to feed my community, diving to lend a hand to other fishermen, trying to start a family. But everywhere I've gone, it seems like the fabric of what holds us together is being ripped apart by billionaires and corrupt politicians, profiting off of destroying our environment, driving our families into poverty, and crushing the middle class. I did 4 infantry tours in the Marine Corps and the Army. I'm not afraid to name an enemy, and the enemy is the oligarchy. It's the billionaires who pay for it, and the politicians who sell us out. And yeah, that means politicians like Susan Collins. I'm not fooled by this fake charade of Collins' deliberations and moderation. The difference between Susan Collins and Ted Cruz is at least Ted Cruz is honest about selling us out and not giving a damn. People know that the system is screwing them. They know it in their bones. Nobody I know around here can afford a house. Healthcare is a disaster. Hospitals are closing. We have watched all of that get ripped away from us, and everyone's just trying to keep it all together. Why can't we have universal health care like every other first world country? Why can't we take care of our veterans when they come home? Why are we funding endless wars and bombing children? Why are CEOs more powerful than unions? We fought 3 different wars since the last time we raised the minimum wage. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but I know that I'm asking the right questions. When I tell people around here that I'm running for Senate, sometimes the initial reaction is, what the but when I tell them why I'm doing it, because I truly do believe that we can build a system that is going to represent working people, the #1 response has been, well, thank God somebody's going to do it. You're supposed to fight for the things you love. This is our home, and I will fight tirelessly for it, for you. It's Mainers first, and Maine always.
Now, on one of the news that involves Trump's mass deportation program, a federal judge dismissed a Trump administration lawsuit against 15 federal judges in the state of Maryland. Federal Judge Thomas Cullen, a Trump appointee, ruled that the U.S. Department of Justice lawsuit against 15 U.S. judges in Maryland to limit their power in fast-moving immigration cases and deportations. Judge Cullen framed the lawsuit as a constitutional standoff, writing in his opinion that the Trump Justice Department couldn't pursue a constitutional free-for-all, according to a report from CNN. Cullen said, "The administration is intentionally trying to smear the justice system." Also, in his writing on the decision, the judge added that over the past several months, principal officers of the executive and their spokesperson has described the federal district judges across the country as left-wing and liberal, activists, radical, and worse. Although some tension between the coordinate branches of government is a hallmark of our constitutional system, this concerted effort by the executive to smear and impugn individual judges who rule against it is both unprecedented and unfortunate, Judge Cullen wrote. The Justice Department appealed Cullen's ruling to the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which is based in Virginia.
Multiple media outlets in the Philippines are now reporting that the U.S. Department of Justice has formally requested the extradition of a popular religious leader in the Philippines, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, to stand trial for human trafficking and slavery, for which he was formally charged in the U.S. by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California in 2021. Quiboloy is a popular televangelist and a mega church pastor in Davao City, Mindanao, and a supporter of former President Rodrigo Duterte. The Philippine ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, when asked by the press, acknowledged that the extradition request was received in August 20, 2025, and that such request has been turned over to the Philippine Department of Justice, but not to the Department of Foreign Affairs. According to the Philippine Star newspaper, some members of Congress has already expressed their favorability in extraditing Pastor Quiboloy, citing our obligation to the international community in cooperating in matters of carrying out justice. In a press release in 2021, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Central District of California unsealed a succeeding indictment of Quiboloy and 8 others in California for sex trafficking of girls, women who were coerced into having sex with a religious leader under threat of eternal damnation. The U.S. Department of Justice press release stated, among those indicted in the U.S. includes Apollo Carillon Quiboloy, the leader of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, Teresita Dolibas Dandan, the top overseer of KOJC operations in the U.S., Helen Panilag, who oversaw the finance of KOJC and global operations, Felina Salinas, who was collecting the passports of those who were trafficked in Hawaii, Gia Kabaktulan, who operated the KOJC compound in Van Nuys, California, Marissa Duenas, who handled fraudulent immigration documents, Amanda Estopare, who handled tracking the money raised in the U.S., Bettina Padilla Roses, who also handled financial matters, Maria De Leon, owner of Liberty Legal Document Services, who handled processing of fraudulent documents of marriages and immigration-related documents. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office press release, Quiboloy and his associates started the sex trafficking scheme in 2002 and continued to at least 2018.
Last week, we ran a story about flooding in Pakistan that had already killed more than 800 people since the monsoon season began this year. This week, Al Jazeera reports that a landslide has killed at least 30 people as intense rains lashed northern India. A landslide at the Vaishno Devi temple in the Khetra area has prompted search and rescue efforts. In Indian-administered Kashmir, torrential rains caused a catastrophic landslide that has left at least 30 people dead and numerous others injured, according to local media and officials. According to police and local media, search and rescue efforts were underway on Wednesday in reaction to the landslide that happened that afternoon before near the Vaishno Devi shrine on a well-traveled Hindu pilgrimage route in the Khetra district. The avalanche was the most recent catastrophe in the Himalayan area, brought on by intense monsoon rains, which have left hundreds dead and unaccounted for in Pakistan and India. At least 30 people have been confirmed killed in Tuesday's avalanche. Senior Superintendent of Police Paramveer Singh told the Anadolu news agency. To remove debris and look for survivors, security forces, disaster relief teams, and local volunteers have been called into action, he stated. Following the tragedy, the Vaishno Devi Temple pilgrimage has been suspended according to the DPA news agency. Additionally, the region's infrastructure has been severely damaged by heavy rains, which have swept away roads and bridges in flooded homes. India has opened the gates of big dams on the swollen rivers within its jurisdiction due to heavy rainfall, alerting Pakistan to the possibility of flooding downstream, according to news agencies. Following an alert from New Delhi to Islamabad about potential cross-border flooding, Pakistan started evacuating tens of thousands of residents on Tuesday. According to Omar Abdullah, Chief Minister of Indian-administered Kashmir, Indian authorities were attempting to restore telecommunications services, which were almost non-existent during the flood. Despite predictions for more rain, according to the Reuters news agency, according to a post on X by India's Science and Technology Minister Jitendra Singh, restoring the electricity, water supply, and mobile services is the immediate priority, and the authorities have been working continuously overnight for this. During the June-September monsoon season, landslides and floods are common, but according to experts, climate change is making them more frequent and severe. Over 1,200 people have perished in monsoons-related incidents in India since June, according to officials, and at least 800 people have died in Pakistan since late June. According to DPA, in the Kishtwar area of Indian-administered Kashmir, rainfall earlier this month killed dozens of people and left 200 missing in the Himalayan region.
In Sudan, BBC reported a story about a displaced pregnant woman who was fleeing violent conflict, a human story of how people suffers in conflict zones. I prayed the baby wouldn't come, says a pregnant woman's diary of her escape from a combat zone. Amira set out on a risky expedition across one of Sudan's most dangerous conflict areas in May. She was living in the city of En Nahud in the West Kordofan state, which has just been taken over by the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. She felt she had no other option, even though the road out was hazardous. She was 7 months pregnant, she stated. There were no pharmacies or hospitals anymore, and I was worried that if I stayed any longer, I wouldn't see any cars leaving. Due to its severe difficulty and cost, travel had virtually disappeared. For over 2 years, civilians have been brutalized in the civil conflict between the RSF and the Sudanese military. The front line has since moved to the southern part of Kordofan, which is where Amira went. To protect her anonymity, the BBC does not use her true name. The Global Campaigns group, Avaz, provided the BBC with an audio diary that Amira recorded while she was running away. We also called her in Kampala, the capital of Uganda, where she is now awaiting the birth of her child. Amira chronicled that when she eventually arrived in West Kordofan's state capital, El Fula, with the army pressing in, she did not want to remain there any longer than necessary. She stated in her audio journal, "I was unsure of what would happen if the army arrived in El Fula, particularly because soldiers have started attacking members of specific ethnic groups, such as Bagara and the Rizigat, whom they believe had ties to the RSF. Despite having no affiliations with the RSF, my spouse belongs to one of those groups. He studied law and works in the public sector, but that is irrelevant at the moment. People are being singled out based solely on their ethnic background. According to what the UN has described as credible claims of extrajudicial killings, the Sudanese military and its affiliated militias have been accused of pursuing civilians who are thought to be working with the RSF in areas they have taken. In the past, when soldiers have been accused of violating human rights, the military has denounced individual transgressions. A committee was established earlier this year by General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan, the head of the army, to look into claims of atrocities that occurred during the military's advance across central Sudan. The 3 states that make up Kordofan are currently the primary battleground, being the location of huge oil deposits and a strategic hub for important transit routes. The area is vital to Sudan's war. A serious humanitarian crisis has been exacerbated, and bloodshed has increased due to the presence of other militias alongside the RSF, particularly the influential SPLM-N, which has made it practically impossible for aid organizations to send in supplies. It took Amira 3 days and multiple car changes to reach the South Sudanese border and safety after departing El Fula. The barriers were innumerable. The RSF drivers were working according to their mood, she stated. This is just an example of the sad reality of women, children, and old people who suffers the most in war zones. Let's take a commercial break. Please stay tuned with us for our interview with Dr. Ori Negi, who is running for Congress in Nevada's 3rd District.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. With us now here at PhilMTV studio is Dr. Ori Negi, who is running for Congress in Nevada's 3rd District, which is Clark County, Nevada. Dr. Negi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, Joan Marvell.
Of course. So before we go into our questions, why don't you tell our viewers what your background is?
I'm a native Nevadan for 50 years. I grew up here. After I went to school, I came back and I became a neurosurgeon. I've been practicing here for 20 years. I was chairman of the Department of Neurosurgery over at UMC, and I joined the Board of Medical Examiners to try to improve healthcare in my community. I was elected president about 2 years ago, and I learned an awful lot about what's broken in healthcare in America and what we need to do to fix it.
That's wonderful. It's really impressive. So, just curious, you're a very successful neurosurgeon, and you're very well known in the Valley. What is the motivation behind you running for Congress?
I saw year after year healthcare deteriorating. I saw people who I know and have known for many years getting increasingly frustrated, being unable to deliver the kind of care that they know their patients deserve. And what I saw was the reason that they couldn't deliver the kind of care they thought was appropriate was because the hospitals and the insurance companies had created policies that prevented them from doing what they thought was right. And as these giant corporations exerted more and more control over healthcare in America, I realized that we're not going to be able to pass laws to counter their increasing power unless we have people who understand the system elected into government.
You're a candidate for Congress in the Republican primary. How many are already running for the same post in the Republican side?
Right now there are 7 other people running, so it will take some work to stand out. But I think I have the best opportunity in the general election to win because I have a broad base that I appeal to. There are a lot of nonpartisans who will vote for me in addition to the people who will vote in the Republican Party along party lines. When I ran for the Board of Regents, I had almost as many votes as the person in the Republican Party because I ran as an independent in the Regents race. And so I think the number of people who are interested in improving healthcare and the people who are in the Asian community who have already reached out to support me. And we have a large following in the Hispanic community, which is also very prominent in CD3. I think we're very well positioned to win in the general election, and I think the points that we're putting forward resonate with the Republican Party base as well.
So you mentioned some demographics there. Is there any particular demographic for the June primary that you're trying to target?
So there are many people who have been staunch Republicans for many years, but in particular we're trying to bring into the party people from the Asian minority groups and the Hispanic groups because they're extremely well represented in CD3. And I think the Republican Party represents conservative family values. It represents following the rule of law. It represents helping people who came into America legally, and but ensuring that we reduce crime and improve education, and that in this case we're going to be able to improve healthcare law.
If you come out as the Republican candidate for the House after the primary election, you will most likely be challenging a House member who is now in her 9th year in office. Do you see a pathway to winning in the November midterm election?
Absolutely. I think we will dominate Susie Lee. I don't think she's done nearly enough to help the people in this community. I don't think she voted in favor of protecting taxes on tips. I don't think she's done enough to help with border security. I don't think she's interested in seeing men prevented from playing in women's sports. I think she doesn't represent what the people in Nevada stand for. And I know she can't fix healthcare in this country. If we fix healthcare, we can save trillions of dollars in the economy. We can save up to 10% of the gross domestic product. That's enough money to pay off Social Security forever, to return tremendous amounts of money to the states. If we just reduce taxes, it's enough to start to pay off the deficit, which will make everybody a lot happier and create increased prosperity in our country.
Dr. Nagy, last words from you. This is your pitch.
Thank you. I think right now we have an opportunity in this country to get laws passed that we're not going to have an opportunity again for maybe a generation. The president we have in office right now is willing to burn down the institutions that aren't serving the interests of this country to rebuild things that will benefit everybody in the nation. During that period of time, we can rebuild healthcare in a way that serves the interests of the patients and it puts patients back over profits, the structure that corporate America has tried to take away. And I think we can do a lot of good for our country, and I'm going to need your help to do it. If you are inclined to help me restore family values and to help me to restore rule of law in the country, I'll need you to follow us on social media. If you can tell your friends about the campaign and about what we're trying to do, and if you can support us financially too, helps a lot, because you can't win these campaigns without lots of money. So I very much appreciate your support.
Okay, we will leave it at that as we are out of time for this episode. Dr. Nagy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you too. I appreciate the opportunity today.
Of course. And to our viewers, join us again next week. I'm Maribel Villanueva. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Joe Boban. God bless your week.